For years, Burkina Faso was a country many overlooked, a quiet nation with rich traditions, warm communities, and a deep sense of resilience. But in the shadows, trouble was brewing. The Sahel region, stretching across West Africa, had become a breeding ground for insurgent groups, taking advantage of vast, unguarded territories to spread violence and chaos. Burkina Faso found itself caught in the crossfire. Villages were emptied, businesses shuttered, and families forced to flee as terrorists tightened their grip on rural areas. Markets once buzzing with life fell silent. Schools closed. The fear of sudden attacks became a daily reality. Soon, the world started paying attention, but not for the right reasons. Burkina Faso became a symbol of crisis, a country drowning in insecurity, unable to protect its people from the growing wave of violence. But this wasn't a fate the Burkinabe people were willing to accept. They had watched their country slip further into turmoil, and they had had enough. The frustration turned into action. Protests erupted. Citizens demanded real leadership, someone who wouldn't just talk about fixing the problem, but would actually take bold steps to do so. Enter IBRAHIM Traoré. His rise wasn't just about taking power. It was about changing the country's entire approach to security. Instead of relying on outdated defense strategies or waiting for foreign aid, Burkina Faso took matters into its own hands. That's when something unexpected happened. A country once considered weak in military capabilities suddenly became a leader in strategic innovation. Burkina Faso made bold investments in air power, something rarely seen in the region. Drones, advanced surveillance technology, and newly built air bases turned the tide of war against insurgents. The days of defenseless villages and surprise attacks were numbered. But how did Burkina Faso go from struggling to secure its borders to building one of the most advanced air defense systems in Africa? And what did this shift mean for the future of the region? To truly grasp why Burkina Faso had to act with such urgency, picture what life was like in the Sahel before change arrived. Imagine waking up each day uncertain if your home would still be standing by nightfall. The streets were empty, not because people didn't want to go to work or school, but because they couldn't. Fear ruled every corner. Markets once filled with the chatter of merchants and customers were silent. Farmers abandoned their fields, knowing that venturing too far from home could mean never returning. Roads, once vital trade routes, became battlegrounds. Supplies stopped moving. Businesses shuttered. The economy didn't just suffer, it began to collapse. But beyond the economic damage, the emotional toll was even greater. Families were torn apart. Children grew up seeing more bullets than books, knowing fear instead of opportunity. An entire generation risked being lost to instability. Burkina Faso was running out of time. The country couldn't afford to wait for outside help. It needed someone to take charge, someone who wouldn't just talk about change but take action. And that's where IBRAHIM Traoré came in. Unlike many leaders who rule from behind high walls and armored cars, Traoré is a leader who walks among his people. He understands their pain because he's lived it. He's seen the struggles firsthand, and instead of accepting them as inevitable, he decided to rewrite. When he stepped into power, Burkina Faso was on the edge, economically drained, militarily weak, and socially fractured. But Traoré didn't see a country beyond saving. He saw potential. He saw a future where Burkina Faso could stand on its own without waiting for foreign aid or intervention. His approach wasn't about patching up problems. It was about tearing down old systems and rebuilding stronger ones. He brought together military strategists, technology experts, and local leaders to create a new way forward. Instead of dictating solutions from an office, he listened. He traveled to the most affected regions, spoke directly with villagers, and asked them what they needed. Then, he made decisions that most wouldn't dare to make. One of his boldest moves was transforming Burkina Faso's military, not just in size but in capability. He didn't just want a defense force. He wanted a force that could outmaneuver and outthink the enemy. That's when he turned to the skies. In modern warfare, whoever controls the air controls the battlefield. Traoré recognized this and wasted no time in revolutionizing Burkina Faso's military strategy. Drones, fighter jets, and surveillance aircraft became his weapons of choice. Instead of waiting for insurgents to strike, Burkina Faso could now see them coming and eliminate threats before they even reached the villages. This wasn't just a military upgrade, it was a declaration. Burkina Faso was no longer going to be a passive victim of external forces. It was taking charge of its own security, its own future. But what exactly makes air power such a game changer? If you are still watching this video, it means you love Traoré, or at least his works move you in one way or the other. Take out a second and hit that like button. Have you done that? Let us move on. In today's world, whoever rules the skies controls the fight. It's no longer just about having the biggest army on the ground. It's about speed, precision, and being able to strike before the enemy even knows what's coming. For a country like Burkina Faso, with its vast, rugged terrain and hard-to-reach villages, air power isn't just useful, it's a total game changer. Why? Because insurgent groups have always relied on one major advantage: terrain. They hide in the deep forests, the endless deserts, and the remote mountain regions where traditional ground forces struggle to reach them. Roads can be unreliable, and moving troops takes time, something you don't have when your enemy can disappear in minutes. But the moment you bring planes and drones into the picture, that advantage disappears. Drones can hover over the most inaccessible areas for hours, watching every movement, tracking every suspicious convoy, and sending back real-time intelligence. Planes can cover ground in minutes that would take soldiers days to reach. In a single airstrike, a threat can be eliminated before it even has the chance to carry out an attack. For years, insurgent groups operated in the shadows, using their knowledge of the land to stay ahead of the fight. But now, the skies aren't just empty spaces, they're watchtowers, always observing, always ready to strike. And here's the real impact. It's not just about attacking enemies, it's about protecting everyday people. Imagine you're a farmer in a remote village. For years, you've lived in fear. You don't know if an attack will come in the night. You don't know if your crops will be burned or your family forced to flee. But now, you look up and see planes patrolling. You know drones are scanning the region, keeping watch. That feeling of safety isn't just a military advantage. It's a way to bring life back to normal. Children can go back to school without fear. Markets can reopen. People can start rebuilding their homes, their businesses, their futures. The power of the Air Force isn't just in what it destroys, it's in what it restores. But building a strong air defense isn't as simple as just buying drones or fighter jets. It requires trained pilots who can maneuver with precision, operators who can analyze intelligence in real time, and engineers who can maintain these advanced machines. Air power isn't just about having weapons, it's about knowing how to use them effectively. And then there's the infrastructure. You need air bases, repair stations, and entire supply chains to keep an air force operational. Without the right support, even the most advanced aircraft are just expensive pieces of metal. Burkina Faso has recognized this and has made serious investments, not just in equipment, but in the people and systems that make air power truly effective. Because at the end of the day, having the best technology means nothing if you don't have the right hands guiding it. Out of all the advancements Burkina Faso has made in its military strategy, one stands out as a game changer: drones. These small but powerful machines have revolutionized the way the country defends itself, providing capabilities that were once unthinkable. So why have drones become the backbone of Burkina Faso's defense strategy? Think of them as the ultimate multi-tool: lightweight, highly efficient, and incredibly adaptable. Unlike traditional military aircraft, drones don't require massive infrastructure, large crews, or expensive fuel consumption. They can be launched quickly, fly for hours, and deliver real-time intelligence straight to command centers. For a country facing threats in some of the most remote and inaccessible regions, drones have become a lifeline. Insurgents once relied on the vast Sahel terrain to stay hidden, using the thick forests, mountains, and deserts as natural shields. But now, Burkina Faso has eyes in the sky, drones that track movement, monitor enemy patterns, and ensure the military stays several steps ahead. The impact of this shift has been massive. Groups that once operated freely, launching surprise attacks on villages, now find themselves constantly watched. With surveillance drones patrolling the skies, their hiding spots are no longer safe. But drones aren't just about military strategy. They're about protection, security, and restoring hope. Imagine a small village that has lived in fear for years. Armed groups roam nearby, making it too dangerous for families to farm, trade, or even sleep peacefully. Now, with drones monitoring the area, the game has changed. The military can detect threats long before they reach the village, responding swiftly and preventing bloodshed before it begins. For the people, this isn't just about technology, it's about getting their lives back. It means farmers can return to their fields, markets can reopen, and children can go to school without the constant fear of an attack. The presence of drones creates a ripple effect, restoring stability and giving communities the confidence to rebuild. Beyond security, drones are also a cost-effective solution. Unlike fighter jets or large-scale ground operations, which require extensive manpower and expensive maintenance, drones offer a smarter approach. They provide high-level surveillance, precision strikes, and real-time data, all at a fraction of the cost of traditional military operations. For Burkina Faso, this means strengthening its defense without overextending its resources. However, having drones isn't enough. They need skilled hands to operate them, interpret the data, and maintain the technology. That's why Burkina Faso isn't just investing in machines, it's investing in people. Training programs have been launched to equip Burkinabe citizens with the technical skills needed to manage this new era of defense. These aren't traditional soldiers. They are specialists trained to fly drones, analyze surveillance footage, and maintain advanced equipment. Picture a young Burkinabe stepping into a training center ready to learn. They aren't just there to master a machine, they're there to protect their homeland. Each takeoff and landing isn't just a routine mission, it's a step towards securing their country's future. Burkina Faso is proving that military strength isn't just about weapons, it's about knowledge, strategy, and the ability to adapt. But how is this transformation shaping the country's long-term security strategy? This kind of transformation isn't just about technology, it's about people. It's about giving individuals the tools, skills, and confidence to protect their country. When someone goes through the rigorous training to become a pilot, a drone operator, or an intelligence analyst, they don't just gain a new skill, they gain a purpose. Take Honorine Moyenga, for example. She had a dream of flying, but in a country where military aviation was still developing, that dream seemed far away. Yet, she held on to it. And when the opportunity came, she seized it without hesitation. Today, she's a military pilot, proving that with the right training and support, anything is possible. But this focus on security and preparedness isn't limited to soldiers and pilots. Burkina Faso is taking things a step further, bringing civilians into the effort. Because keeping a country safe isn't just about what happens on the battlefield. It's about communities standing together. Farmers, shopkeepers, teachers, ordinary people are now part of the country's defense network. They're being trained to recognize suspicious activity, report potential threats, and stay alert. This creates a nationwide web of vigilance where everyone plays a role in ensuring security. And here's the real impact. This isn't just about stopping threats. It's about uniting the nation. When people feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves, it strengthens the bonds between them. It creates a shared sense of responsibility, turning security from a government initiative into a collective movement. Of course, a strategy like this doesn't just happen overnight. Training programs need infrastructure, resources, and careful planning. That's why Burkina Faso has invested heavily in building the foundations for long-term security. Simulation labs now help drone operators perfect their skills before flying real missions. Advanced workshops ensure that every piece of equipment is maintained and ready for action. Intelligence hubs analyze massive amounts of data, making sure no threat goes unnoticed. And it's not just about technical training. Soldiers and analysts are taught how to think critically, solve problems on the go, and adapt to rapidly changing situations. It's a mindset shift, from being reactive to being proactive. All of this training needs a central hub, a place where everything comes together, where strategies are formed, missions are launched, and new recruits learn the skills they need. That's where air bases come in. These bases aren't just runways for planes and drones, they're the backbone of Burkina Faso's defense. Positioned in key locations, they allow the military to respond to threats quickly and effectively. But beyond their tactical importance, they serve as a powerful symbol, a declaration to the world that Burkina Faso is no longer a country waiting for help. It's a nation ready to defend itself, and the impact of this transformation has been undeniable. Insurgent groups that once roamed freely now find themselves hunted, their movements tracked, their strongholds weakened. They can no longer hide in the shadows, because the skies are watching. Their operations, once swift and unpredictable, are now disrupted at every turn. Did you find this video interesting? Why not take out a second to hit that like button?